Confidence in Russia's democratic institutions. The purpose of this presentation is to determine which factors affect citizen confidence in Russia's democratic institutions. The rationale underpinning the investigation is that institutional confidence is especially relevant in a young and unconsolidated democracy like Russia because of its potential to affect support for the regime. The analysis was undertaken with data from the Wave 4 World Value Survey for post-communist countries in which 2,500 Russian respondents partook. An index was created to measure respondents' confidence in democratic institutions. Reliability analysis was used to test the index's internal consistency. Cross-tabulation was used to assess significance using the chi-square test and also to assess association using either tau B or C. Analysis of variance in the scheffe test helped suss out where significance differences lay. A standard significance level of 0.05 was observed. The dependent variable. An index was created to measure respondents' confidence in democratic institutions. The index is a composite measure of confidence indicators for 4 different democratic institutions, including the police, civil service, parliament, and the justice system. Each indicator taps a person's trust in a different but closely related democratic institution. Reliability analysis provides an alpha of 0.77, suggesting that the indicators are fairly well correlated. In fact, deleting any of the variables results in a lower alpha. Also, each item total correlation is fairly high, suggesting each item is correlated with the others. 3 independent variables were used. The first is age. An individual's socialization has long-lasting effects on his or her level of trust. Older generations are expected to trust state institutions less because of formative experiences under a Soviet regime that was not bounded by rule of law. The second variable is a respondent's retrospective assessment of the old regime. This measures whether an individual perceives that their interests are served by democratic institutions. That is, are an individual's value preferences and performance expectations met by the institution. Those who retrospectively report a negative assessment of the old regime have a net positive assessment of the current regime and must believe that their interests are best served by that regime. Such individuals are expected to display higher levels of confidence. The final measure is an individual's level of political interest. Greater political interest was found to lead to greater political trust in most countries, including Russia. Political interest can be sustained over the long run only if people believe that they can affect government decisions and that institutions are in fact democratic. This quality, in turn, increases confidence in these democratic institutions. I expect that this result will hold. The first independent variable, age, has an associational strength of 0.069 and it is statistically significant. However, the relationship was found to run in the opposite direction from that which was hypothesized. The older generation appears to have greater confidence in democratic institutions. Given subsequent findings, this result could be consistent with the notion that institutions have not substantively democratized. In that case, whether older generations remember the previous regime is irrelevant, and we may merely be observing a general pattern of trust increasing as age increases. Due to the very weak association, however, the age hypothesis is not confirmed by the data and is rejected in favor of the null. The tau C value for the second independent variable, the retrospective assessment of the old regime by the individual, is 0.13. It's weak, but it's acceptable, and it is statistically significant. Again, it is opposite to what was hypothesized. Those who favor the old regime show high confidence in democratic institutions, while those who least like the old regime most distrust democratic institutions. A plausible explanation is that current institutions are substantively the same as institutions of the old regime, and thus they are not democratic. The last independent variable was the level of political interest an individual shows. No association was found, but the result is statistically insignificant, and so no generalization is possible. In summary, all 3 of the original hypotheses were rejected. However, a weak and unexpected relationship was found between a respondent's retrospective assessment of the old regime and their trust in democratic institutions. As the respondent's opinion of the old regime improves, so does their trust. in the new regime. These findings challenge earlier findings. However, they conform to a wide literature on Russia asserting that while the country has adopted a democratic patina, its institutions remain fundamentally Soviet in nature and non-democratic. The study suggests a relevant question for future empirical research is whether Russians believe that they have democratic institutions and how this perception affects the ways in which they engage with the state.